Hello Internet! Today we are going to be taking a look at our SVG generator. What this does is it converts SVGs to PNGs so that we can actually use them inside of Unity as textures or something else. We're going to be plugging this into Unity's progress system. This is a system that makes it possible for you to prevent blocking the screen and track asynchronous tasks in a way that you can manage them, see what their progress is, or cancel them throughout that process. This is a relatively new thing. I was introduced to it in a stream by Jason Story. I will link his channel in the description, but we're going to dive into it and I'm going to show you what I know so far. I am still learning it, so I don't know everything, but that's what we're going to be diving into. This is picking up right where we left off with our SVG generator. So what that does is it runs Inkscape to convert SVGs to PNGs that can then be used inside of Unity. So we have 4 different icons and the code looks like this. This is all in a previous video, so if you're curious how all of this came together, you can go watch that video. But we're going to be modifying this so that we can track progress or even cancel it. If we import an entire icon pack and then try to run this, we might not want to generate thousands of images. We might realize that that was a mistake. And we don't want 1,000 or 2048 by 2048 textures for a bunch of icons. That might be a little bit much. So this will give us a way for us to kind of manage that a little bit better. But yeah, this is what currently happens. We can run it by just going up to Tools and clicking Generate SVG. What currently happens is this. So Unity actually freezes when we run this tool. So I can't interact with any other part of Unity because I'm running this. What we would like to do is actually move our entire processing into the background so that we can actually generate these images behind the scenes and then just kind of wait for things to finish. Because this takes a while. It means I can't do anything else in my project, in my game. I can't edit things. I can't do anything. And that's not ideal. So the idea here is to create a task for what we're doing and then use Unity's progress system to sort of track all of this. The end result is this. So we get a printout of what happened. We regenerate our images. They were already generated. In this case, we don't actually know that there is no changes. So we do the work anyway, and then just replace the images with exactly the same data. But that's how this ends up working. Our goal here is to remove that waiting bit. So we no longer block Unity as we're generating these images. Instead, we'll be able to just click this bottom icon down here, this little check mark. And that will give us a list of background tasks that we can actually see running. So yeah, that's what we would like to do. Using the system is relatively straightforward. The way to do that is just create a progress tracker. And this isn't anything special. I'm using var here. This is just an int. It's just an ID to track the ID of whatever progress thing you're using. And then like a lot of Unity things, this is actually static. And you just run Progress.Start with a name, an optional description, options, and a parent. So you can have a series of tasks that have children beneath them. So it's like subtasks can be run. Here we just have one thing that's doing a series of steps. So we're going to actually do something a little bit different. We're just going to say start generating SVGs. And then at the bottom here, we can just end that job. We can just do a progress tracker. That's not how that works. Again, it's just an int. There's nothing special going on there. It's just there so that you can track a reference to this. So do progress.end or finish, sorry. And again, static stuff. So we actually need to provide our tracker inside of this. And that's how all of this works, is you generate a progress tracker with some sort of unique identifier and then everything else is just going to use that unique identifier to update itself. And that's that. So this is a really simple one. All this is doing is saying we're generating SVGs and then end later. We can get more advanced later, but this should be enough. So let's go and run this. If we go and do this, nothing's going to change. I'm going to run this just so we can see, but we're not going to see anything. Again, everything froze. I opened up the progress tracker. It's not even rendered yet because we froze Unity, and it completed before anything happened. Like we don't see the stuff happening. The reason for this is everything is still happening on one single main thread, and that thread is blocking, which means that other stuff cannot happen while that thread is doing work. So in this case, once we enter this method, we're stuck in this method until it ends. So as far as Unity is concerned, all of this happened in one frame. So there is no progress to track because it all completed in one frame. What we want to do is actually move this outside into some asynchronous task so that we can actually track it, so that we can actually continue to do things and not block Unity. This does have some side effects. You can't just do this with everything. With most UI-based things, you can't just move things into the background and expect them to work exactly the same. Unity is the same way. If you're trying to access game objects in your current scene, move objects, or do other normal things that you would do in like an update, that isn't really appropriate for moving into a separate thread, because that kind of goes outside of Unity's normal update loop, and it doesn't like that. But for this, we're calling out to a separate process. That's not a big deal. So it's perfect for this. So to do this, what we're going to do is create a task. So Task.Run like this. And what this does is create a task and immediately start it for us and just run it in the background. So this is going to go and run that task for us and then wait for it to complete. Important note, there's no wait associated with this. It doesn't wait at all. This is a task that I'm just firing and forgetting. And then the progress tracker is what's going to actually keep track of that for us. So this is going to get started and then go into the background and keep going. And that's just how it's going to work. There are some weird things that could happen here theoretically. We could potentially like update or import additional assets after triggering this, but I'm not that concerned about that. So currently not trying to fix it. But what we can do here is click this generate SVGs thing, and you'll see now we have a progress indicator. You can see we're generating SVGs for that duration and everything worked, but also I can interact with Unity as this is working. So I can click objects, I can do things, and things will happen. So there's no longer any blocking of Unity, and I can still track the progress. So it's still possible for me to actually keep track of what's actually happening. So that's, I guess, the most basic way to do this. But you can also see there's a percentage tracker here that gives us a way to actually track how far this job is complete. And we're actually iterating over a series of files. In this case, I have 4 SVGs that I'm iterating over. It would be really handy to see how far through processing all the SVGs in our project we had actually gotten, especially if we're going to add canceling later. It would be good to know if we're like 90% complete, maybe we just let it continue going. Or if it's a really long running thing, having some way to indicate progress could prevent us from thinking that it's broken. So that's what we're going to do next. This is all the stuff that I am less familiar with. So that's what we're going to work on. The way we can do that is through this. There is a... I completely forgot the name of it. That's important. What was the name of it? Sorry, there was a thing here and I have completely blanked. Report, I believe, is the correct term. So we can report the progress of this, which will actually give us a way to report how far we are. So let's add that inside of all of this. So we're going to add a process report. Like all of this, we need to pass in the progress tracker and then the total progress. This can have either a float, which will be a percentage. So from between 0 and 1, or you can do the current and final or total amount of steps. That's what we're going to do because we have this percentage of files that we're going to go through. So we can actually keep track of how many files we've processed and then just report that. So I think I actually want to move this down here. So report the progress at the very end. That way we'll start at 0%, complete one, and then it'll go up to 25% because that's how far we've completed things, rather than we're 25% done when we haven't done the first file even. That would also prevent us from doing we are 100% done when we haven't completed the task. So we're going to do that, and I'm just going to say processed files, and then we want svg files.count. So the total number of things that we have processed. Okay. Let's do that. And what? Sure. All right, it's being a little bit weird, but that's okay. And I think we can just leave it at that for now. Process files doesn't exist, and I don't have a cursor. Cool. Awesome. Things are going great. So let's go and create that. Process files equals 0. Just so this way we can keep track of everything. And also looking at this, this count is a little bit deceptive because the way we are saving our SVG files isn't actually, it's not a list. So we don't have a count. The way that count is getting calculated is it actually iterates through the list to count the files. That's not a big deal for a small number of files. Like I only have 4. That's not a big deal. But it could be a big deal. So what we can do instead is say int files to process count, something like this, and just calculate this once. So we're calculating the total number of SVG files once, and that way we don't have to reiterate over our list every single time. Every single time we go through this, it will theoretically cut down on our time complexity, but not a big deal for small things. Just noticing that as I'm writing it, and it's not a big change, so we're going to do it now. And that's that. So now we can report our progress, and if I go back here, we should hopefully see this move now. So as this completes, we should see this jump up to 25% and then 50% and so on, hopefully. Or not. It didn't process that at all. Hold on, let's do that again, because I missed something. We can see 0 to 4, and then still, oh, I know what's going on. So, wait, do I know what's going on? Yeah, that's what's going on. We need to increment this. Processed files ++. Perfect. That would be important. So without actually iterating over our files, we don't know what's going on. So let's go and do that and then jump into our tools. And if we run this again, hopefully, we'll see 25%, and then it'll jump up to 50%, 75%, and then it will just finish because it's completed. So that gives us a way to kind of show how far along our process is going. if we have thousands of these, that will be useful because we'll actually be able to see how many files we've processed so far versus how many we're going through. Because running over 1,000 files, even though it only takes a couple seconds per file, that's multiple minutes or hours, depending on what we're doing. So having something that actually gives you that little indication is useful. I did sort of hint that you can cancel these as well. And so let's take a quick look at how you can do that. Currently, there's no way to cancel this because I haven't implemented that. So the task can't be canceled. But you can add that functionality so you can actually both pause, so sort of stop with the potential to continue, or we can cancel this so that it no longer works. I'm going to just make it so that I can cancel this. And how that's going to work is it's just going to finish whatever job it's doing. So I'm not going to kill Inkscape and try to end the process. Instead, I'm just going to exit after whatever it's doing finishes. So what we can do for that is register a thing. I forget what it's called, a cancel callback. Yeah. So we can register a cancel callback by giving it the progress tracker and then some sort of function. And so this function is just going to return a Boolean. I don't know what that Boolean return value is. I think it's if it's canceled, but I'm not sure. This is something that I should check, but I just haven't yet. So there's that. And so what this is going to do is just going to set our is canceled equals true, and then return is canceled. And so we don't have an is canceled, so let's create one. Var is canceled equals false. So initially our task is not canceled, so just keep going. But if you trigger a cancellation, it will stop and stop whatever it's doing. And then what we can do is just at the beginning of this, if is canceled, then we can just break out. And so the break will get us out of this loop, and we'll be able to do our own thing. There we go. Okay. So this just handles that. Again, we're going to finish whatever we're currently running against, but we're going to stop future things. Again, this is for the case of like running this against an icon pack. We don't want to process the entire icon pack just because we accidentally imported it. We only wanted to do like 4 things. So cancel it, let it complete, and then filter everything down to just what you need. So that's what this purpose is for. So that should be enough for that. And that will actually allow us to just cancel this and get out of the way. So I think that should be enough to actually add cancellation. And that is everything I know how to do with this. So there's a few other things you can like create child tasks like I mentioned. That's an option in the Progress.Start. You would provide the ID of the parent task as part of the creation of that child task. But we don't need that here. So we're not really working with that. But in this case, when I do this, what it does is it adds this little X, and I can just click that and it cancels this. And you can see it mentioned it was canceled, and this sticks around. So this job will stay around just so you can see that it was canceled. There's a fun exclamation mark. I don't know what that means. To be completely honest, there's no pop-up for it. It's just there. I believe that means the task was interrupted, but I'm not sure. And so the way that this works, just to run it again, is you can see there's like a little X over here. And so we can click this whenever we want, and it will say it's canceled, and then we'll be left as an inactive task, and we can just clear those, and now they're gone. So that is how we can sort of manage all of those fun things. I believe that is everything that we really need to talk about here. But that's sort of how all of this stuff works. And the cool thing with this is that it moved all of our work into the background. It let us continue to work. So all of Unity remains responsive while we're processing these files and doing all of that other stuff. Unity is still usable. I can still do whatever my job is while this is working. So this could be useful for like importing assets or processing images or however you need to use it. But it gives you a way to kind of move things into the background while still keeping tabs on them. Again, if you don't know how to open this background tasks, the way to do that is clicking this little icon down here. It's a little check mark. If you just click that, you'll get a background task, and it just can be moved anywhere, just like other Unity windows. And that is that. So hopefully this is useful, and you can use it in your projects. If you do, I would love to hear about it. So please let me know. Other than that, I will see you in the next video when we take a look at how to hopefully use asset pipelines to make all of this automatic, so that we can automatically process new SVGs as they get dragged into our thing, and we don't even need to click this button. It just automatically detects there's a new SVG. Let's process it and turn it into an image. So that's what's coming up next, hopefully, once I figure out how that works. But until then, I hope you all have a great day. Thanks everyone, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, see you, Internet.